Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and all 25 fucking million of you, and welcome to The Struggle, a news talk show powered by Kenya's internet speeds. Welcome. Tonight, we'll be discussing magpies destroying house prices and speed limits so low in Fitzroy, even our intern can keep up. It's that time of year when a slow stroll can turn into a disaster. Yes, indeed, the swooping season is here. Australians have been under attack since July this year, a little earlier than usual, with 145 attacks already recorded on website Magpie Attack. Wow, doesn't that make us feel special? Magpies are most likely to attack at Federation Square, St Kilda, Camberwell and Geelong. Magpies' favourite targets are cyclists who reported 62% of attacks. There are even concerns magpie attacks are devaluing houses. We cross live to our housing affordability crisis correspondent.
Fearless, obnoxious and downright terrifying, these magpies have invaded localities of Melbourne like a pervasive shopping centre. Skilled in the trades of spying, thieving, dive bombing and eye gouging, these little shits have left residents terrified. Such hostile and toxic environments have even turned people off investing in the housing market in these areas. Some fear they won't be able to sell their properties when it's right in the middle of a magpie training camp. We're here today in Caulfield North, where attacks have been recorded in previous magpie seasons, to see how residents feel. So are you scared of magpies?
I'm absolutely terrified of magpies. They swoop me, they attack me, they try to take my wallet.
It's really a serious issue.
So if you lived in an area where there were a lot of magpie attacks, would you consider moving?
I would definitely consider moving, even if it had to be across the other side of the country. They're just such a menace.
I'd say so, definitely. Like at the moment, like at all times, yeah.
Do you think the government should take this on board and do something about it?
Definitely. I think all the magpies should be rounded up and they should be sent to Tony Abbott's house where they can just poo all over him all day.
I'm not sure what they could do, but it has to be stopped, you know. We can't even walk out of our own house.
Once I was outside and just hanging out the washing and a magpie swooped down and just pooed on me.
Love the attire. If you've noticed being more cramped on the tram recently, it's because Australia has hit a new population record of 25 million. But it's not millennials helping expand the population. What with the housing affordability crisis, climate change and, impending sense of doom, Australia's fertility rate has been below replacement levels since the 70s. Our population comes from immigrants. While Australia's 25th million person is likely to be a Chinese female, we don't actually know who made the record.
Yes, we do!
What the hell, Matilda? What the hell? Who is this?
It's the 25th million person! Yep, look.
Did you kidnap her? Matilda, did you kidnap her? Did you kidnap this woman? Who is she?
She's under 35, she's a Chinese immigrant, she's a woman, I couldn't steal a
Matilda,
baby, what do you want me to do?
We discussed this,
No.
you cannot kidnap people.
I know I didn't kidnap
Oh my
her,
God,
she's
can
in
we
my
cut?
bloody
Can we cut,
economics
guys? We
class,
can't do
like,
this.
can you
We're
not
not
be
doing
sorry
it. Do
for
we have a
what?
legal
I don't
advisor
get it.
here?
Can you just let me
Do
have
we
a
have
creative
what is going
freedom?
on? Let her in. Half of Australia's 25 million people also have reason to celebrate, with the federal government announcing that it's supporting the removal of the GST from women's sanitary items. The news follows a Senate vote in June, which also leaned in favour of ditching the tampon tax. But just like a lingering STI, officially getting rid of the tax isn't that simple. States and territories still need to approve the repealing of what Deputy Opposition Leader Tanya Plibersek has called a tax on women. We cross live to our female correspondent Ashley Simmons to further discuss the unfairness of this tax.
Thanks, Amber.
Whoa, wait a minute. I'm not going to have my cotton on a string mansplained to me. I thought we were going to cross to our female correspondent.
Well, there might have been a slight miscommunication. You see, I am the female correspondent, a male reporter who covers unfair, unjust and unnecessary fees, like the tampon tax. Tampons are an important part of a woman's life. The average female uses over 5 tampons a year. Now, Australia is lagging far behind other nations when it comes to repealing the tax. Canada, India and Kenya are all tampon taxless. Now, that's not to suggest that Kenya is more progressive than Australia. After all, we are more technologically advanced and have, say, faster internet than them. Is that real? That's fucking embarrassing. Now, given that tampons and pads aren't GST exempt, you'd think that the items that do have a tax-free status in Australia are pretty damn essential. Well, you'd be wrong. According to the Australian Taxation Office, foods such as fish fingers, chocolate spread, garlic bread, haggis, truffles and 2-minute noodles all don't attract the GST. Parties have had years to repeal the tax, and they're only doing so now in a clear move to secure voters. And while I can see the argument for haggis being more important than a woman's monthly sanitation, anyone who can afford to buy truffles can afford to pay the GST. Back to you, Amber.
Surely a woman would have been more appropriate to deliver that segment. Or, you know, have a few more women involved when the Liberals voted against the tax repeal last year. Not much has changed. For all those people who thought that their gambling habits would be a secret from their better and bitter halves, you have been deceived. Results of an inquiry into Woolworths-owned pubs and pokie machines found the company encouraged staff to keep detailed tabs on their customers. Turns out that man at the train station claiming the supermarkets are spying on us was correct. In February, Tasmanian federal MP Andrew Wilkie released screenshots of an internal Google Drive documents. The whistleblower said they were asked to target patrons with free drinks to encourage gambling. Here's the whistleblower explaining what went on.
They just think that you're having a general chit-chat with them, but you're actually profiling it.
Was that Banksy? With Woolworths' profit reaching over $900 million this financial year alone, Woolies outdid Coles in what they're calling food sales. The company's executive called it early signs of the group's transformation. Transformation to a future full of making money off others' gambling addictions. Oh wait. Speaking of spying, the Tasmanian government will no longer proceed with a draft social media policy which could have led to public servants losing their jobs if they were critical of the state government online. Tasmanian Premier Will Hodgman acknowledged the draft policy had unintended consequences and that any formal policy would have to follow common sense. Some have suggested that these consequences include a lack of freedom of speech, censorship, and an increase in the amount of people worried that reacting with the angry face will get them sacked. Luckily for us, however, our politicians are experts in the English language and are never at a loss for words.
Beautiful flowers.
Yeah. Thank you. Clivias. Yeah, they're beautiful. Modest. Very modest. Right. Like meat.
In all seriousness, it's ridiculous that this policy was ever drafted. Imagine if the policy went through. We cross now to our social media influencer who's here to show us the potential effect of censoring public servants.
Yes, babes, she's back and looks like you caught her getting ready for her beauty sleep. And what better way to cure that insomnia than to scroll through some of our very own Polly's tweets. Boring doesn't even begin to describe some of those posts. But don't be alarmed, because your main cheek is here to turn those snooze fests into like frenzies. First up, Labor Senator Penny Wong. Penny, penny, penny. No one cares about political parties cooperating. What we really want to hear is the latest scandal to come out of Canberra. Next up, Victorian opposition leader Matthew Guy. Matt, I'm not at all interested in a possible rigged voting scandal. Trim some of the fat, get to the heart of the issue, and give us the goss on who the real suspect is. And finally, Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews. Straight up, what's with the paragraphs? It's a tweet, Danny boy, not an essay. And everyone appreciates a little bit of honesty now and again. So why not lay it out there for everyone to see? So babes, the take home today is less is more. Unless of course we're talking about the amount of followers I've got. Anyways, gotta get back to the gram. Follow me on Supercoach Plus, Google Plus, and Athletics.
Thanks, Kardashian lover. The The weekend was an interesting one for fans of football when during the Western Derby, Eagles star Andrew Gaff gave youngster Andrew Brayshaw a serious knock to the jaw. The AFL deemed it intentional, breaking Brayshaw's jaw and displacing his teeth. The punch comes as the league desperately tries to eradicate violence from the game. It's resulted in a season-ending suspension for the Eagles star. Media reaction has been huge, with some believing Gaff should have been treated as a criminal, whilst others see him as a victim of trial by media. We cross now to our sports correspondents Fitzy and the Big Dog, here to enlighten us further.
Footy Pies! Sports!
Thanks, Amber. I'm Fitzy, and this is the Big Dog.
So my name is still Joseph, and I
and
really
boy,
appreciate
oh boy, wasn't Gaff's hit a doozy. His 8-week suspension will go a long way to rubbing the punch out of our beautiful game. But some fans aren't satisfied and think he deserves repercussions from the police. Big Dog, any thoughts?
Oh, I get to talk now? Well, I think
it's a great point, Big Dog. Why should players get away with street violence just because they're on a footy field? I'm not calling Gaff a criminal.
Okay, that is enough. This entire week has been a perfect example of trial by media. Gaff was reported by the AFL. He was sanctioned by the AFL.
But media and fans alike
think that what? Think that what? Here's a little fact for all those angry fans out there. You and your opinions don't matter. So you can go back to your blogs and keep not making any important decisions. The Brayshaw family have forgiven Gaff, and that's all that matters.
Well, once again, fans and media alike.
Spencer, I swear to God.
Spencer, Fitzy, you mean Fitzy?
No, Spencer, I don't mean Fitzy because that isn't your name.
Gaff has both condemned his actions and apologised for them. He'll miss the rest of the year through suspension, and Brayshaw will be sidelined for the remainder of Fremantle season as well. And Gaff isn't a criminal.
That'll be all, Amber. A pleasure as always.
I got it.
From September, residents in the inner north of Melbourne will be screaming at their steering wheels even more thanks to new speed limits. In suburbs including Fitzroy, Carlton and Collingwood, speed limits will be decreased to 30 kilometres per hour on residential streets as part of a trial. We sent our correspondent Frida Loader to the area to talk to the residents there who apparently need slower speed limits in order to be tamed.
So you can't boo at the footy anymore. You can't ride your bike without wearing a helmet. You can't take a shot after midnight. You can't drive your dog in the car without special harness. And now you can't drive over 30 kilometres per hour. We spoke to some of the residents here to find out how they think about the new changes of the super speedy speed limit of 30 kilometres per hour in residential areas. Do you think this rule is going to work? How do you think this rule is going to work?
Cars will drive slower. It will make a little less or a little more traffic, but every day I think people will still be more road rage afflicted.
Do you think you could beat a car going 30 kilometres per hour?
No, unless I was sprinting.
Do you have any more creative ideas for what we could do to reduce accidents besides lowering the speed limit?
Get people to stop driving.
Helicopters.
Yes, helicopters.
Yeah, get rid of cars, go helicopters.
Drown all idiots at birth.
Luckily, Melbourne's public transport is so fantastic, we don't have to focus on cars, at least according to Forbes. Forbes magazine is claiming that our metro trains and Yarra tram services are reasons to put Melbourne on your bucket list. Look, I love Melbourne as much as the next bogan, but what's going on over at Forbes? What was the comparison between us and Venice? I mean, really, everyone hates our public transport. It's something we all bond over. It's part of the Melbourne culture. The Forbes article said you don't need a car unless you want to take a few quick scenic road trips along the coast. This is probably one of the best jokes I've heard since the ratings from the Joyce and Campion interview were released. Continuing the jokes, Forbes also told its readers to save money by hopping on a tram. They said they're inexpensive, clean, and I never had to wait longer than 5 minutes for one. Look, maybe I'm jaded, but we do have a few students here on exchange, so we sent one of them out to capture her unbiased opinion of Melbourne public transport. Poor girl. No thanks to this transport, Melbourne has lost its crown as the most livable city. Melbourne won 7 years in a row, but has now lost to Vienna, a city just a few hundred kilometres from Hitler's birthplace. Lord Mayor Sally Capp had this to say.
That much like winning 4 premierships in a row, having been world's most livable city for 7 years will be a record really difficult to break.
Channel 9 and Fairfax have announced one of the biggest media deals in Australian history, a $4 billion merger. Channel 9 will keep its name, be led by their current CEO, and combine the company's radio, print, digital advertising and streaming services. It's a merger in the same way Cadbury chocolate and Vegemite merge. Call it chocolate all you want, but it's still going to taste like shit. 9 will evaluate all of Fairfax's 160 regional titles, which could see many on the chopping block. While Turnbull has praised the merger, former PM Paul Keating has criticised it, saying Channel 9 has the ethics of an alley cat. I'm not sure what Keating is talking about. 9 has never had a conflict of interest, being involved in child abduction, just like Fairfax has never been sued for defamation. Fairfax employees are unanimous in their take on the merger, collectively saying, at least it's not 7. As someone who works for one company and interns at the other, I praise the new media overlords and don't see anything wrong with media working towards a monopolised singularity. Besides, there's only one news organisation I trust, the Batuta Advocate. But look, the media industry is tough. In fact, in order to keep paying our intern $0 an hour, we've joined forces with Channel 10 to stay afloat.
The Bachelor on 10.
Hello, and welcome to The Struggle of Being a Hottie, a news talk show powered by millennials who are single and ready to mingle. Today, we'll be discussing lip gloss, underwear, and hair down there.
No, cut. The merger's cancelled. Channel 10 wants no association with you. Actually, you know what? Actually, following my recent separation from Bigfoot, I've actually given up investigative reporting and thinking about taking up presenting. And also Amber's going to Sydney. But please, instead of Carly, call me Matilda. Hello and welcome to The Struggle, a news talk show powered by, well, Amber's tears. Goodbye from everyone here at The Struggle. It's real.